Hi, this is Kendra from Pencil and Pigment, and today I'm doing a sketchbook tour. So I purchased a Stalogy 365 and I've only used one side of the page. So it is completely full. Every day I drew in it from January 1st to the beginning of July. And I have a Midori A5 cover on it in case you're curious, and this is the blank paper. My goal this year was to take one of these and fill it the entire year, but because of bleeding and ghosting, I purchased a second one, and that will be the second half of the year. So let's get started. Here is a sample page. This doesn't count. I just wanted to see what watercolors look like. And as long as the paint doesn't sit on the page for too long, there isn't a lot of bleeding. Obviously, alcohol markers, they bleed on lots of stuff except blender paper, so I just wanted to see. And I started with some micron illustrations. And I really love animals. I really love birds. I end the year with birds, spoiler alert. I wanted to see what colored pencils look like. I really enjoy doing botanicals and things, but it is very, very time consuming. So something like this takes like 3 hours. And here's a combination of the two. And here's watercolor with ink. And silver's really hard to see, unfortunately. And I enjoy portraits. This is a Pentel brush pen. I have several. I really enjoy them. And lots more micron, lots more experimentation with portrait, with face. I really spent the first half of this year trying to figure out shape and form and negative space, and really tried to lean into just experimenting and getting weird with it and trying new things. There is a watercolor wash on top of the micron. Here's more watercolor. Some things in here are, I think, more successful than others. And that is just the nature of the beast with experimentation and exploring and trying things. I learn infinitely more. This is watercolor with ink. I learn so much more when I fail than when I succeed. So I will show you, obviously I'll show you every page, but when I get to some things I deem failures, I will explain why and what I was trying to do. Here's just ink pen, like Tombows and stuff with a micron. I don't know if you can see it. It says quack in the negative space, colored pencil. And a little bit of botanical. This bird's from New Zealand. I do love birds. And here is just me experimenting with landscape and texture. I apologize for the noise. I record this with the best lighting, so it's not too washed out. It's all natural light, but that means that there are people and they are moving around and they're doing things. I made some dragon notes. Next year is Year of the Dragon, and I want to get better at drawing dragons and things, so I made some notes for myself. This year's Year of the Rabbit. Here is one of my rabbits. Here is just a combined, it's a vine, it's a face, it's a bird, it's colored pencil. Putting elements together like a collage are kind of fun. Like this is 3 different inks. It's a Tombow, it's a Uniball Signo. I guess that's 2 inks. And then this is just colored pencil. This is sepia, which is a convenience color I purchased separately because I wanted more brown. Squirrel. I tried to make it look like one of those ruffs that Victorian, sort of that old style school neckline. So here are some of the dry medias on this paper. And what I did was I cut glassine bags and then I would just tape in with washi tape, a protective layer. These have all been sprayed, so this is just charcoal. But I wanted to do like one a month. And charcoal's fine on here, you just have to make sure you spray it really, really well so it doesn't fall off. Roar. A lion and a snake. And then I did some journal entries talking about my day with a little illustration. I have a whole sketchbook tour that is nothing but an art journal, and that was tons of fun. I'll link it. Just line experimentation. It's an owl in a tree. Part of a wolf, I think, or a coyote. Could be a coyote. It's been a while since I've looked at these, and some of these I haven't looked back at. I was trying to sort of faux imitate the cyanotape sun prints. This is an African wild dog. I absolutely love illustrating them. I love their ears. They're just such a fun animal, but some things I never get to finish because of time constraints. If you love mycology, mushrooms are awesome. Doodles and swirls. Getting weird with it. Here's another one where it's botanicals. These are nasturtiums, and again, something like this takes 3 hours. This is an A5, in case you're wondering the size. It's about 5 inches by 8 inches. Hyperrealism for me is slow going, so I do not do it every day, even though I enjoy it and I really enjoy looking back on it. Here is a plant, and I really wanted to try and fill the page with one and see what that would look like. It's yarrow. Birds. It's just a micron, and I went through several microns, not using up the ink, but definitely damaging the tips. Flamingo. I love a good flamingo. If you've ever seen them in flight, in photographs, or in real life, it looks unreal. It looks really, really cool. Here is a specific breed of cat that has a larger ear. I did some frogs, and this is just the Uniball Signo and micron. It was a lot of micron. I was using like an 01 or an 03, and I really love ink on this paper the most. So that is what you're going to see the most of. Here are intertwined trees, and I did 3 different patterns. Just experimenting. This is just one colored pencil. This is the color called Mauve, which isn't very mauve. It's a deep purple by Faber-Castell. And I was trying to incorporate stars in her hair, and this is how far I got with that. So, yeah, micron and a Pentel brush. And micron and a Pentel brush. And here's a couple portraits. But you can really see how streaky the Pentel brush is when you do huge areas. This is all micron. So I'm trying to recreate like water drops and experiment with texture, with line and texture. There's a silver Uniball over this one. This is Pentel brush and micron. This is just a Tombow pen. Micron. This is a moth on a log. This one took me a while and hand cramps. I remember that. There's just a flower and some silver on this side, and then I have a little lineup of gold to make it interesting. Peacock and a micron. Again, I love birds. There's such a wide variety. Here's another sort of illustration and journal entry. I wanted some things in here where I could go back and read and go, okay, that's where I was while I was drawing this in 2023. There's just a penguin. I love them. It's an ostrich. It has opinions. It's so cranky. Here's another portrait, and then for the hat, I just did negative space. And this is Pentel brush with Micron, and I was just trying like contour lines and swirling and just being very experimentative with all this. Like, how do you draw 800 faces? What happens to a dream deferred? It's a Langston Hughes poem that I really enjoy. I have a lot of poems that I really, really love. Here's another charcoal. Gosh, I hardly showed you the shoulder. I don't care for the blending on this one. It got very streaky on me. Here's a sepia portrait. And this is a lot of layers of cross hatching. And so I only did half the face. Sometimes I get what I want to say or how I want something to look by only showing half, and I don't have to finish the other half, and then I don't have to spend more than 2 hours. And that's nice. I can move on with other things. A portrait. Here's a double portrait. So this is just using Pilot pens, and there's a figure in blue with the arms up and a figure in pink. And it's just sort of layered. Pentel brush pen and some little Uniball Signo in silver. This is, boy, this looks really stripy. This is probably Pilot pen too. I really enjoy all the different colors of Pilot pens I have. It is not light fast, but if I scanned it, I could keep it, you know, long term. Again, this is just a sketchbook for exploration. This is magenta. This is one of the least light fast colors in the 36 set from Faber-Castell and their polychromos. And yeah, I was in the mood. More purple. I have a purple Micron too, so this person got the stipple treatment if you're into dots. Crow. We have a lot of noisy crows in our backyard. This one I did on a video, so this is Micron a little bit. It's Pentel brush pen, and then it's colored pencils. This is all Pilot pen. And did I try and kill a green pen? I sure did. And they're still having problems trying to recuperate. There's blue. But you can clearly see the ghosting and the bleeding and stuff, so it's just one-sided for these illustrations. This is all Pentel brush pen, and I tried to see how small I could stipple with this and still get across facial features, and this was a lot of fun. I love doing hair. Pentel brush pen, and she has no eye, and I was really trying to see if I could get away with that. Like how few marks can I make and still convey lips and shape? It's all just really experimenting and trying. She's wearing a jacket. Pentel brush pen. There is a portrait in here. There's the eye. But it is a lot of weird lines, cross lines. Again, trying to explore what certain things look like. This is a lot of stipple. Just a lot of dots. And sometimes when I'm listening to a movie, this is what happens. It's very meditative and relaxing to do things like this. Here's two portraits. There's one in black ink, which looks like the Pentel brush pen, and then there's one in blue and Pilot pen, and then I have a little bit of the Uniball Signo in gold. Pentel brush pen. working on hair and highlight. This was one I consider a failure. And you're like, but some of those other ones, I know. No, I was trying to draw horizontal lines and get darker with the portions I wanted to be a face. And I did not like how this turned out. This technique that I was trying is something I would really have to work on day after day after day to get the desired effect, which may not even look much different than this, but I just really didn't care for this and consider this not a success. But I learned a ton, and I did not revisit that. So when owls have good grammar, whom? And I do love owls. And here's Roar. Here's a hummingbird. Every hummingbird I've ever met was absolutely ferocious. Here is micron pen, portrait, experimenting with line width and shape and form. Really just getting weird and trying new things. Just not being afraid to have the face barely look like a face. Here is the Malachite from Caran d'Ache Luminescence colored pencil. And there's no like solvents or anything on here to sort of even out the tone. It's just me blending with a colored pencil. I think I was listening to an audiobook when I drew this one. This one has some copper Sarasa pen and a lot of portraits. Huge portrait phase. Here's another rabbit. Sometimes I'm just in a mood. Here's a cat. And this one was fun because I was trying to figure out 3 values: dark, middle, and light. So I have the middle value shown in silver, and then the light value is the white. And do you still see a cat? Does that still kind of come through? And really trying to explore what that would look like on the page with those shapes. And again, some of this is more successful than others. This is just another face and texture and hair and line. Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna zoom in on this one because I don't know if you can see what I've done. So this is Pentel brush pen, and then I have polka dots of Pilot pen in the turquoise, in the light green, in the pink. And then I have a little bit of colored pencil in green and pink. I was really trying to figure out some unusual lighting ideas. I'll zoom back out. He really looks alarmed by how I've drawn him. But I do that some more in here, add other colors. This is just the brightest colored pencils I own, and me doing eyes and some nose and some lips and some stars, and just trying different sort of collage technique with the face. I really didn't like the portrait, so I did a telephone pole with birds over it. So that is why I did that. But it looks all right like that. It pulls your eye away from the portrait a little more. Anyway, not a success. Here's a fun one where I covered the whole page. So this is Pentel brush pen, 2 Pilot pens, and a Uniball Signo. And yeah, with doing things like this, you really have to try and figure out how to convey shape and the facial form. And it becomes sort of, it doesn't look like how you think it would look. When you're drawing and you're like, this is not going to look like a face, but when you step away from it and it's finished, you're like, okay, it does. So you really have to trust the process when you do things like this, that it will sort of start to look the way you want it to look. And this is through a ton of practice. Here is just a very pale colored pencil cat. This is 2 colored pencils. and it's a portrait, and I just wanted to try this color combination and see how that would look with white, and I think it works. You get that this is the value that's the lightest, and this is sort of where the light is shining, and this is all sort of in shadow and shade. Here's another one, just using the malachite, really experimenting with it. I am killing that colored pencil, but they are meant to be used. This is two different faces with Pilot pen. So you see the blue face, and then here is sort of the pink one right here. Experimenting, like how far can I stretch this and have it still sort of look like faces. Here's another one with line and cross hatching and hatching to denote different values. This is all just purple micron pen, and then I went back with a colored pencil that's green. I don't know. Hope is the thing with feathers. So, another bird. Here's another journal entry. It's in silver, so I don't know. Okay, there you go. You can kind of see it. Here's one with a bit more body to it. You get a shoulder and a back. Trying to figure out light and shadow. Here's just sort of a face I made up and added a little bit of gold element. I don't know, just experimenting. Here's another one. Sort of darkness and light. Here is the Pentel brush pen with colored pencil, and I drew a hibiscus, so a little botanical in there. I really like different mediums together. A mixed media is a lot of fun. Here is a gentleman, Pentel brush pen. Again, really trying to figure out shape and shadow and light and form. This is as bright as I could get with the colored pencils I have. I think this would have been more successful with neons, but I don't own neons because they're just not light fast. But this took a while to do to try and convey something otherworldly. This is Pentel brush pen, and then there's another pen experiment with this. I will zoom in. You can see with this one where I did the Pilot pen in light green and blue and pink and did the stipple all over it. So it looks like the shadows are in little bits of color just to play around and try something new. Okay. And stippling and adding a little bit of design. When you're really in the mood for something bright. So this is ink and some colored pencil. It's like a cheetah or a leopard or something. I don't even know anymore. Here's a face, and I did some gold mandalas, sort of type designs in here. Just to see if I could, because I never have. And here's another portrait and another face. And like how little you can use to convey nose. This is sort of a little bit of a turned profile where the rest is in shadow. Again, I don't know how to do this unless I just try and like throw it down. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I definitely have some oddities in here. But I think that black and white is just such a good color combination. This is one of my favorites, deep teal and dark orange together. So this is pen and colored pencil together. A couple pens. He looks kind of like a rock star. And this one again has a lot of the stippling. It has the lime green and the pink in here. Here's a tree and a bit of a portrait. Here is where I did pastels. So these are the Richson soft hand pastels. And I did a portrait. That was a lot of fun. And you can pastel on any paper you can get away with. I did try some other things. Here you can see how staining it is once you spray it. So I had a protective sheet to protect this page because I knew that some of those colors really stained through and bleed through. Here's another portrait. Here's another one. You can see the colors a little bit better. They're a little bit bigger. Just experimenting. Seeing what this would look like. Here's a face and stars. Stars are silver, but again, I don't think it translates very well on film. Some of this stuff just doesn't show up the best. Here's some birds. This artist did a tutorial of these birds, and I was like, I want to try it. So I did some weird watercolor birds with some pen and ink branches, and they're all talking except for him, and he's screaming, and I don't know why. And he goes beep beep. And then we had some days of sun, and I knew they were coming, and so I watercolored. This has some pen and ink, and I just kept watercoloring. This has purple pen and ink. Is it purple? Yeah. And I like purple for shadow of leaves. I just think it looks really, really good as a spot shadow color. This one I did dark blue instead with the watercolor. This one's tough to see. So in orange, I have drawn a tiger, and then the green are vines, and then I went back later and colored penciled the eyes and the nose and some of the leaves. Almost like this was a coloring page. Here's a portrait with colored pencil and the Pentel brush pen. Here's an owl, and the moon is in silver. Again, that's kind of hard to see the shine on camera. Here is a face, and I wanted to do some weird things with the eyes, and I started late and then mismanaged my time and ran out. So I did not get anywhere I wanted to get with this, but I was going to do a surreal thing, and nope, didn't finish. And then didn't even have time to go back to it. So, portrait. Portrait. Lots of portrait, lots of faces. I love all faces. Here's a little cheetah in the forest. And again, I think I was listening to something because I get in sort of these like repetitive patterns of things while I'm coloring, and it's just in drawing, and it's really, really relaxing. But essentially I created my own coloring page and colored it in with ink. Here's just little tiny bits to try and convey face and hair. Like how small at least amount can I do? How much can I do? Here's another one. I called her the Queen of Hearts. This is just Pilot pen. And this is a lot of dots. So we have Pentel brush pen, and then I have all the Pilot pens and all the colors. So it really looks like rays of light and rays of color and sort of in the shadows. And here's one where you can see the color much bigger, and these are sort of colored squares. And at the time, the only yellow I had was my Micron yellow, so this portrait is made of color. And trying to do shadow of finger and hands. Hands are not my strong suit, so that's, and then, yeah, I'm learning. I'm still growing. Here's a person, and I wanted to give her one interesting eye. And you can kind of see the gold. I used my deco color, and these are falling apart and leaking ink. It's horrible. But when you see this in person, it just shines and sparkles like actual sequins under the eye, and it looks really cool. You just may not getting that effect on camera, unfortunately. So it looks kind of strange. And then I added a little bit of gold here. And again, it really shines in person and looks unique. Here's a chicken. I couldn't tell you if I tried. I was in the mood for a bright, shiny chicken. So that is what I drew. And when you're not following drawing prompts, you can do whatever you want. This is another one that I did on video, and there's an interesting earring I attempted. Here's some unique eyeshadow I tried with colored pencil. Here is the Pentel brush pen, a Pilot pen, and a Uniball Signo in silver. So this whole page is actually covered in ink. But she is just a lot of hair. So, Pentel brush pen, Pilot pen. When you're really cold, I was really cold in where I was drawing, and so I leaned into the blues. Just experimenting, trying things with shadow, with hair, with line. Again, experimenting with line thickness, and then I have some stipple things going on. And just squiggle lines. We were pulling weeds, so I drew some of the weeds we were pulling, and this is what a lot of them look like. And in amongst them there are clovers and nasturtiums and dandelions and things. Colored pencil. I'm not sure, just experimenting. Here's another little journal entry with a portrait. And I like text with illustration. I think that's a fun element. This is a sun bear. It's one of my favorite bears. Yeah, he's pouting. Squiggle portrait with lines and hatching, and just some portions I didn't pick up the pen, so portions of it are a continuous line drawing and portions of it are scribbling. And can you convey emotion in amongst all that and get a portrait out of that? I sure tried. And this was with the zebra pen. And hair in the face makes interesting shadows. And if you're drawing like this, where you're trying to do a continual shape and you're not quite getting enough of the face, this is what I did as a cheat, sort of. I went back in with another color and gave it a little bit more intrigue and interest, so at least you get like a jawline and you get a little bit more ear here. And it kind of gives you a middle value range with doing that. Yep. Lots of pens. And when I do a Pilot pen like this, it takes a long time. But it adds sort of like a weird, unique texture, and it feels really interesting. So, if you're into how illustrations feel, that might be for you. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just experimenting and trying new things. She's wearing a scarf, I think, so it's colored pencil with the brush pen. Again, there's so many different elements going on in here with the gold and all the weird inks. And I tried to use a bunch of my Tombow pens. Again, this one was not a success. She looks really ill. And sometimes you can get away with green on the face and sometimes you can't, and this is just the wrong green for that. So this is a really sparkly silver. So this is another portrait of stars. You can kind of see it. Here's another one I went to do. And I don't know how much a page can handle till I try doing all the things, and it's messy and weird and it doesn't work, but then I know the limitation. So this was a layer of charcoal with a layer of pastel over it. And it's been sprayed and we're mostly okay here, but it doesn't work. And there's also some, let's see, Conte of Paris on here. There's a bunch of things on here and it just didn't work. But I tried. I wanted to see how much layering I could do, and I did a lot of layering. Another portrait with some hearts. These are just really teeny tiny design squiggles that up close mean nothing, but pulled away you can see from this angle that it is in fact a portrait. But it's just really unique shapes. And here's another one where I tried to mix a bunch of different elements. So there's a dinosaur, there's a monstera leaf, there is a person being fashionable with their coat and briefcase, and just some different design elements. And this is like, I tried to do a Copic marker. I have some, I never use them, so I tried to use them, and yep. This is ink. This is colored pencil. It's messy, it was fun. I don't think it works, but again, I enjoyed the process, and sometimes it's the process, not the end result. This is just a zebra pen. This is the one I've been using. And experimenting with thickness of line and stippling and shape. Pentel brush pen. It's probably my favorite pen on this paper. But you can see, like, you really only want to use one side of it. Here's another leopard of sorts. Here's an owl. This is a snow owl. Snowy owl. Here is, I did a haul video where I used a bunch of my new pens. So here is a portrait with my new pens. And you can kind of see the gold and silver shine. This was a lot of fun. And then I also got a circle stencil, so meow. Here's a cat with one of my new pens. Here it is right here. This is the brush sign pen in yellow ochre, which is a warm yellow. And I didn't own any warm yellow pens. I watercolored a whale in indigo. Gave it some butterfly wings. Did a botanical element. He gave it some butterfly antenna, and yeah, really leaning into the weird. A lot of fun. This is a lot of things, and most probably not successful. So I tried to do two style of portrait, and you can see the difference in line, which two different eyes. It's two different everything, but once I added color to it, you really couldn't see the differences as well. And that's unfortunate. So, not a success. Here is a person wearing some leaves or in a shrub, I'm not sure, with the yellow ochre. And then I started getting into monochromatic birds. This is the Carmine, the colored pencil I just picked up. And when I do monochromatic, I really just focus on the light and dark. It really just eliminates the decision fatigue of what color should I use today. I just pick one of the colored pencils that either are the newest or the ones that are the tallest or the ones that are the darkest in value because they show up the best. So this one is a whiskered pita. And I don't remember all the names, so bear with me here. This one is the Eastern Rosella. And I'm really trying to see if I can have negative space within these birds and still have them come across with the feathers and like the softness. This one was with the malachite, and this is a kingfisher. You really start to see it sort of feather out. This is a blue jay. I do a blue jay twice. This is with the indigo. I don't know. I did it twice. So here's a flamingo. Violet and mauve, one of those. This one is, let's see, what bird is this guy? This is a tanager. So you really sort of start to lose the back and part of the face where I didn't add any color to see if you could still get, your eye completes the bird shape anyway. Here's the other blue jay I did. And I like this one better. It's a little softer. I like the eye a little better. Here is my peacock. And a peacock doesn't really look like a peacock if you don't have all the feathers, but I just kind of want to focus in on the face. They have a very dynamic face anyway. Here is an ibis, and this is, I used earth green yellowish, which in person looks very olive green, but over camera it really washes out and you have trouble seeing it. So when I go to photograph things this light, it doesn't work. Cardinal. And he looks like he knows some secrets, doesn't he? He looks kind of sneaky. I don't know. And that's the end. So, started with some birds, ended with some birds, did an absolute ton of portraits, and tried different things, and had failures, had successes, did things I've never done before, combined things I've never done, did styles I've never done before, just really tried something new every day. And just tried all manner of face shapes and botanicals and different textures and things. Like, it's really hard to try and figure out negative shapes with some things, and I practiced and practiced and practiced for the first half of this year. So, I'm very happy about that. This is what the first half of my year looked like, of drawing every single day, and some days it was an hour and some days it was 3 hours, and a few of these I think are about 30 minutes, just because some days are like that. So I hope you enjoyed this sketchbook tour. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.